Right then, let's take you through our starting grid for Junior Rotax. Heat number 2. So it's going to be Timo Jungling from the United Kingdom and from the Netherlands, Casper Schormans on the front row. Thomas Behrmann and Dave Stevens, row number 2. Alberto Kiko Fracassi and Max Cuthbert, row number 3. Thomas Min-Spearing and Thomas Ingram Hill, row number 4, with Joshua Graham and Kenzo Craigie completing the top 10. Ryan Bourguignon, and then we've got Noah Janssen, row number 6. Thomas Rudokas and Matthias Jallerup, row 7. Oscar Gusho and Mikko Manila from Finland, rounding out the top 8 rows. Completing the top 20 is August Raber. And we've got Cameron Nelson, Roman Kinsinger and Sky Parker. Completing the 24-strong grid, it's Jake Menton, Sebastian Koch, Santeri Laitonen and Zain El Homosani. So Jungling and Schormans on the front row. The drivers getting into formation as they make their way through into the tram lines. Revs rise. Are we ready? Are we steady? Lights are out. We're underway. Good start by Timo Jungling, who leads the field into turn number 1, but Casper Schormans right to his outside. Dave Stevens looking to the inside in the 292. I think he's just gotten the race lead. No, he hasn't, but he's keeping it pinned around the outside. And there's problems for Casper Schormans, who's dropped all the way outside of the top 10. As we've got a yellow flag going through marshal post number 2 in the in-between part through turns 3 and 4. Timo Jungling managed to hold on to that race lead ahead of Dave Stevens. So Casper Schormans not having the greatest start to his first heat. The juniors will also compete in 3 respective heats. So Casper Schormans looks to be around about 12th place as the leaders make their way through into turn number 11. Jungling leads. Stevens in second. Third, that is going to look to be a DHR car. That is more than likely going to be Thomas Ingram Hill. Fourth, it's Max Cuthbert. Fifth, Thomas Behrmann. Joshua Graham now up into 6th. Alberto Kiko Fracassi now up into 7th. Ryan Bourguignon, Thomas Min-Spearing and Matthias Jallerup rounding out the top 10. Schormans currently 11th position, looking to climb up the order. As at the front end of the field, Timo Jungling goes on the defensive. Thomas Ingram Hill looking towards the inside, so is Max Cuthbert. They are both going to look to get past Dave Stevens into turn 7. They do get through. Stevens down into 4th place. And Thomas Behrmann now waiting for his opportunity to get past. And Alberto Kiko Fracassi has got past Josh Graham. As there's a little bit sideways there from Thomas Ingram Hill going into the braking zone into turn number 10, but he manages to keep Max Cuthbert at bay. Max Cuthbert now up the inside of Thomas Ingram Hill. Nearly opened the door there for Dave Stevens, as now Joshua Graham is trying to go briefly side by side. As all that was sideways and then some for Thomas Ingram Hill, but Thomas Behrmann sent it from absolutely nowhere to try and get through on everybody in front of him. That included Ingram Hill, and Behrmann has a little bit of a moment coming out into turn number 5. Kenzo Craigie is the back end of that train, and that has allowed a certain Timo Jungling to pull away into the distance. But Thomas Ingram Hill with the massive of all slides trying to get through as there's a little bit of a tussle, one of which that was Kenzo Craigie, I think, involved. As one of those drivers. Someone's gone wide coming out of turn number 11. That might have been Joshua Graham. Now it's getting a bit robust out there, I'm afraid. That was a little bit of that was more than just a touch. That was Casper Schomans on Alberto Kiko Fracassi, who is not exactly happy. Now it's become a bit of bumper carts, and 2 into 1 do not go. And that was Ryan Bourguignon into Alberto Kiko Fracassi. And Shawman's now trying to get through on Thomas Ingram Hill for third, and that was sideways for Joshua Graham this time. 3 wide coming out of turn number 6. The 245 on the inside. That's Oscar Gushaw with Matthias Jellerup sandwiched in the middle. Roman Kitzinger, unfortunately, is out of the race after just the opening lap. So there was one casualty. Thomas Behrman looks to be a little bit further down the order. He will be in, that is going to be 7th by my calculations as they come across the line. That is the case. Cameron Nelson, Alberto Kiko Fracassi. There's more juxtaposing here as that was the 284 of Thomas Min Spearing through on Thomas Ingram Hill. Tay Stevens is there trying to get through as well. As now Ingram Hill up the insides of Spearing, and Stevens gives him a little bit of a hip check as well. And there is no give. There's rubbing of sidewalls going into the braking zone for turn 7. And there's more sends happening a little bit further down the order, Jake Menton being one of them. Kenzo Craigie finds himself towards the bottom part of the top 20. 2 minutes and 20 seconds still to go on the timer, plus an additional lap. The 241 of Cameron Nelson now has a fast-closing Italian in the form of Alberto Kiko Fracassi. As, oh dearie me, there's one on the back of another going down the start-finish straight. Oh, and I think someone's going to have a very noisy exhaust as a direct result. Yep, I thought as much. And that looks to be one of the Argenti carts. That could be... Yeah, that's the noisy exhaust. One driver's going to get a mechanical black flag, or they're going to come into the pit lane. So, Timo Jungling still leading the way. Max Cuthbert in 2nd position. 3rd now is going to be Casper Schomans. 4th is Thomas Ingram Hill. Sounds like it's the 214 Sebastian Koch that's got the noisy exhaust, or is that driver now pulling? Oh, that's Joshua Graham that's got the noisy exhaust. He was the one that had another kart mounted on his rear bumper. So the baffles are not clearly working. That exhaust is a noisy one, and that driver is now going to have to retire. That's a real shame for Joshua Graham. So Alberto Kiko Fracassi, in the meantime, has managed to catch up and pass Cameron Nelson and is about 1.6 seconds behind Thomas Behrman, who is rounding out the top 7. Meanwhile, at the sharper end of the grid, it's Dan Holland Racing's Timo Jungling, who is leading the way, but he is being caught by Max Cuthbert. And the lap times were quite considerably different. They were different again last time around by about 4 tenths. Timer is about to hit 0 as the leaders make their way through into turn 6. So top 10 rounded out by Noah Janssen from Germany. Mechanical black flag has now been shown to Joshua Graham. So he's going to park that, and that's his race over, I'm afraid, as Max Cuthbert now trying to get through on Timo Jungling. Casper Schomans is now there. And Casper Schormans looks to the outside of turn number 11. And oh, there's a touch! There's a touch between Cuthbert that unsettles Jungling. And Jungling drops down to third. And now Schormans takes the race lead going on to the final lap. You can bet your bottom dollar that Timo Jungling is going to give everything he can and make a fair and clean overtake as they go into turns 1 and 2. Jungling back up into second position. Now Cuthbert. Now Jungling gets the switch back through out of turn 3 into turn 4. So down they go into the turn 7 chicane for the final time as Josh Graham pulls the cart into pit lane. And there is a 5-second penalty coming to the way of Thomas Behrman. And that was for pushing. I've just been informed by the live timing. But Casper Schormans looks over his right shoulder. Timo Jungling holding on to second as they've just got one more corner to go through. And out of the final turn, it is going to be Casper Schormans who takes the win. Timo Jungling takes second. Max Cuthbert third. Thomas Ingram Hill fourth. Thomas Behrman on the road, fifth place, but with a 5-second time penalty. That is going to drop him to around about 12th position. Dave Stevens, Thomas Min Spearing, Alberto Kiko Fracassi, Cameron Nelson, Noah Janssen round out the top 10. Kenzo Craigie, despite being in the trenches along with several other drivers, finished 11th ahead of Oscar Gusho. Matthias Jallerup, Santeri Laitanen, Ryan Bourguignon rounds out the top 15. Mikko Manila from Finland, 16th. That has just been adjusted, so Thomas Behrman drops to 12th place as the provisional results. Thomas Rudokas, August Raber, Sky Parker, Zain El Homosani rounds out the top 20 ahead of Jake Menton. Sebastian Koch, Joshua Graham retires after a mechanical black flag for a noisy exhaust on lap 7. And Francis Roman Kitzinger in the 2:33 didn't even make it to the end of the first lap. So with 25 junior Rotax drivers ready and being given instructions by the race director ahead of their first heats of the race weekend, it was focusing on the task at hand, making sure that the best result possible was guaranteed. The drivers would head into the tram lines and it would be pole sitter Timo Jungling that would take advantage at the start. Casper Schormans alongside the youngster from the United Kingdom would look to go to the outside, but Dave Stevens managed to get through to try and take the race lead on the opening tour, but there was a scramble. Schormans suffered dramas, and then the likes of Thomas Ingram Hill in the 228 would find himself being passed by the UK's Max Cuthbert as Timo Jungling would surge into the distance. There was the moment where Thomas Ingram Hill was completely sideways. Thomas Behrman would then make his way through on the pair of them to get through into that second position, but then Cuthbert and Ingram Hill would fight back. More dramas a little bit further back with the likes of Krik Koren, and then of course that moment there for Joshua Graham was not just the first drama that the 298 from the United Kingdom and Argenti Motorsport would suffer. It was bumper carts ahoy going through into turn 2, and that would later give Thomas Behrman a 5-second time penalty for pushing, being at the back end of the train. And also overtaking manoeuvres were not exactly clean, so to speak, because there were scrambles all over the field with 3 wide at some points, with even sidewall and side pod robbing to boot. See moves such as that by the 231. That would be of Noah Janssen from Germany, who was battling away with Alberto Kiko Fracassi. Drivers were definitely giving no quarter, as there was a slight touch between Thomas Min Spearing and Dave Stevens, who were rubbing side pods and sidewalls all at the same time. And then there were more dramas a little bit further back with the 295 of Zain El Homosani having an assist by Jake Menton from the Netherlands. Then the battle between the top three, Timo Jungling, Max Cuthbert and Kasper Schurmans, came to a head at that moment. The slightest of touches sent Timo Jungling sideways. Cuthbert got through for the lead, and then Kasper Schurmans would get through and then ultimately win. But it was Timo Jungling who held on for so long but managed to finish second best ahead of Max Cuthbert